YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and I got my Chicago Bears 2021 NFL offseason rebuild for you guys today. And going through re-signing players, adjusting the cap space if needed, cuts, restructures, and then diving into free agency, taking a look at top targets for that and the draft. We got a couple different options here as well. Did this for pretty much every single NFL team. We're just finishing up, but when we're done here, which should be tomorrow, 32 NFL teams up, ready to roll. And then we got plenty of other NFL offseason content on the channel. Much more to come, covering free agency fully with grading every signing, full coverage of the NFL draft. So join us for that. Subscribe, smash the like button. Check out our Twitter, just instant reaction to news, breaking news, all those things. Always talking NFL, anything you can think of there. So follow that. Underneath me, walkthemock.com. If you're going to sign up there, use code GOATHOUSE. It's definitely the best NFL draft simulator there. You can have a lot of fun with it. We have with our member mocks. More to come there. So check it out. Link pinned in the comments for anything you need. Yeah, here's the Twitter. Just constant, news talking about it. A lot of cap space number talk here. Draft clips, some film there sometimes. So check it out. Little off-season guide here that's kind of helpful. Definitely keep this handy. Live cap space projections, updates, potential cuts, predicted cuts, potential cap space savings. So a lot going on here. This link is for restructures that I created here, so check that out as well. But I'll pin the link in the comments. So check it out. The Bears are sitting at around negative $1 million in cap space. We still don't know the exact team salary this year. It's kind of the first year that's happened. But it's going to be in the ballpark of that. So the Bears cut Bobby Massey here at 6.7 cleared, and he's just constantly getting injured. You probably can upgrade the position, potentially anyways. Bears offense line started to play a little better at the end of last year. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you can clear 6.7. Tough decision with Jimmy Graham. You can possibly save $7 million with Jimmy Graham, and I felt like when they signed him, they signed made it a 2-year deal, but it almost felt like it was essentially a 1-year deal. They were going to get rid of him after that first year, but he was playing pretty well. I thought he was impressive. So it's a tough call. I was kind of 50-50 on that. I still want to create another need. I know Cole Kmet could step up, but they value having two of those guys out there. So that's a tough call. I wouldn't really disagree either way, really. So we'll see what happens there. They already cut Buster Skrine as we predicted there, so that kind of helped get closer to positive cap here, very close. Restructures, I expect them to dive into quite a few of these, actually. And on our Twitter, we have more potential simple restructures. But, yeah, these aren't pay cuts. I always say, pay cuts are possible. They're impossible to predict who will take them and what that exact number will be. But I went ahead and restructured some contracts, and this is what I came up with. My number's been pretty close, or not, actually dead on for some of these. But Khalil Mack, $11.98 million. If they restructure his contract, push that money into future years. So they're really not eliminating that money. They're pushing it into future years, so they clear that space now. Kyle Fuller, 8.29. Robert Quinn, 7.82. Also can do a contract like Eddie Jackson, somewhere in that $4 or $5 million range. We figured that exact number out as well. But this will be enough, I figured, so it's a lot of money to save here. It's just you're kind of putting yourself in a situation in the future, but a guy like Ryan Pace knows he's kind of on thin. That's why it was tough to do the Bears rebuild here, because I play GM, and if I was the Bears, I would almost head towards rebuild mode, unless you're very confident and you can land a guy like Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. They're just not going to be able to do that. But I would almost head towards rebuild mode, because there's a lot that kind of has to be. They don't have a ton of needs, but just trying to find that quarterback, it's just so hard to do where they sit. The whole Allen Robinson situation. But I just don't think rebuild mode is not realistic right now. They're not going to do that. They're going to try to win. So they would be willing to restructure these contracts. So clearing money. So we're up to $35 million. That's quite a bit. So tough decision with Allen Robinson. I think they ultimately decide to tag him, and then whether they trade him or not afterward would be interesting. But if they are trying to win now, it may be worth it to keep him for this year. Maybe if things aren't working out, trade him at the deadline. If they can get a second-round pick or better, then I would trade him, under the tag. That would make sense. I think teams are going to offer that third, though, because they have to trade for him and they have to extend him. Maybe a third plus, that's probably what it is. But, if they can get a second or better, like I said, I'd probably trade him. But they could, if they're trying to win this year, they could hang on to him. We'll see what happens with that situation. But you can't really just let him walk, because then you're going to get a 2022 third-round compensatory pick. That's next year. That's why I was kind of for trading with the last trade deadline, because you would have got more. You would have got a second-round pick at least. You don't have to worry about this situation. It kind of would have been solved and then better. So we'll see what happens. Bring back Jermaine Ifedi. Obviously, you can get better. It's a guy that can play right tackle or guard. It's just there's not too many options. That's why it's tough. There's just not too many options, and where they sit in the draft, it's tough to predict. Yeah, it's unpredictable on who will be there. Will you be able to replace them? So, and the Bears' offensive line they were playing pretty well at the end of the year. They switched schemes up a little bit, so they could kind of keep it together. It's not the end of the world. A couple special teamers they can bring back that they'll like. I'm sure they'll bring them back. And then we dive into what they can do, in my opinion, what they should do, and it's got to be realistic as well. I like Jameis Winston for them. I liked him. I liked him for them last year. I probably liked him a little better for them. I wish they would have done it last year. Is what I'm saying. I think they could have done a little more damage, but. I guess the question is it going to bring them to the promised land? It's probably not, but there's not too many quarterbacks that are realistic for them getting right now that could actually do that. But I would like Jameis Winston for them. They just have every year they have these stretch during the season where they just, they're constantly going 3 and out. They're barely getting yards. They're barely getting any points up on the board. The defense is constantly on the field. It's up to them to create points. It just happens, whether they switch quarterbacks or they keep the same guy in. It doesn't matter who it is. It's going to happen. No matter what their decision was, it was going to happen at some point. So you bring in Jameis Winston. He's a guy that he turns the ball over, but he's going to get those yards. He's going to get the points on the board. They have a defense that can overcome some turnovers. No defense can overcome constantly being on the field, and they kind of had some turnover concerns at times. I think this would help them. He's not going to be overly expensive. I think a key for the Bears this offseason is to find a damn strong safety. Eddie Jackson needs to be at free safety pretty much 100% of the time. When he looked like the best safety in football, he was playing free safety pretty much 100% of the time, probably 100% of the snaps he played. And he was in a position to kind of sit back, read the quarterback and make plays. And he has not been the same since. Why? Because he's playing, it's a different, when he is playing free safety, it's really not the same idea, but he is playing strong quite a bit. Gibson was a free safety as well. I need for them to get a strong safety. Eddie Jackson to be a lot better. It makes the entire defense a lot better. We can be seeing the Bears defense from a couple years ago rather than kind of slowly taking those steps down, what we've been seeing. They've been giving up a lot of points at the end of the yeir. So get a guy like Marcus May, and they're probably not going to completely go away from what they're running right now, even though it's a little bit of, defensive coordinator change. So Marcus May has the ability to play free and strong. I thought he was very good at strong last year. So I think that would be a great fit. I think that would make the defense that much better. And adding a guy like Solomon Thomas who would play DN in their 3-4 defense, to maybe, throw in there with Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman. Don't forget they're getting him back, so they kind of get better there, stopping the run mainly. But Solomon Thomas can get after the quarterback from the actual defensive line. That could be a sneaky good signing. You go into the draft. Again, Al Robinson's a potential trade option, whether it's after he's tagged or trade deadline, or they have him for one more year. I wouldn't recommend. I'm playing GM here, and I don't think they do this anyways. I wouldn't pay him $18+ million per year long term. Just wouldn't do it. I don't think they're going to do it. So get ready for the future. And right now, Rashad Bateman's my number 4 receiver in the class. He can play in the slot, play outside. He's got really good footwork, good contested catcher. I think he'd be a fantastic pick. So kind of looking out for offensive line here. Dylan Raduns, could start at right tackle right away. Could replace Leno after this year. Could also play guard if you need him. I'm not really worried about that. I like the Bears interior, actually. They just got to stay healthy. I think they got a pretty good group there. And then Jordan Smith, I think they'll probably be looking for more of the upside edge rushers. Jordan Smith's got freak length. He's got some good pass rush moves. He's got a lot of upside. So I think they'll like him, learning from, behind Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. And then you could use you need a rotation guy anyways, very important. And Robert Quinn was a little disappointing last year. So if that happens again, you're going to need somebody that can play, somebody that can step up here. So that fit makes sense to me. Another option here, if they go into, a receiver and free agency, they're not going to, a guy like Curtis Samuel, maybe kind of what Anthony Miller was supposed to be. He's been a little bit of a letdown. Curtis Samuel, that big play, speed, quickness, speed, can play both inside and out. I mean, you can get creative with them out of the backfield too. Not that they need, they probably would, honestly, but not that they need that. You got a guy like Tree Cohen for that. But I think they could like Samuel. Whether it's pairing him with Allen Robinson or not, I think they can like him. They would like him. And again, maybe they don't target. Maybe they get back Gibson. I think this makes them a lot better. Getting a guy like Jaquiski Tartt, who's a strong safety. I think pairing him with a guy like that. I like Marcus May a lot better, but pairing him with Eddie Jackson, to me, that's a good fit. I don't know. It's surprising what they've been doing back there for the last couple of years. So, and then grabbing an offensive lineman, a versatile offensive lineman like Matt Filer, who's got experience at tackle and guard, could be key here. Could potentially start at right tackle here. I think the pricey point is Samuel. I think Samuel could end up being a little pricey here, but yeah, that'd be tough. Paying Allen Robinson and him at the same time. But I do like it. Yeah, again, it's kind of what they wanted Anthony Miller to be. Is kind of Curtis Samuel. So. They need receivers that get them more separation. Bottom line, the separation really wasn't there. Mooney's definitely, I like Mooney a lot. He was starting to get that, thrive in that category. Then you go to the draft. I don't think Mac Jones is going to be there, obviously, but we've seen some scenarios that are realistic that he could be there. It could be a trade up as well, so keep that in mind. But this is definitely, it's a possibility in some way. I would like this. I like Mac Jones. You do need to get the talent, having Curtis Samuel and Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, things like that. But I would like Mac Jones for them. And again, an edge rusher could help for right now and in the future. I like Joe Tryon from Washington. Really good pass rusher. I think he fits their 3-4. Very athletic, very strong. See a different variety. He could go in the first round. Guy that can sneak in the first round. And a guy like Jalen Twyman, which I like at 3-4 end in their scheme there. Pairing him with Keem Hicks and Goldman, of course. He could actually provide some interior pressure there from the defensive line. So, yeah, interesting to see what the Bears do. They're not really right now. They're not really close to having this amount of cap space that they had them do. So they're gonna have to go to work here to do this. I know they're looking into the markets for quarterbacks, trading for a quarterback. I do like Marcus Mariota for them. I just, enough's enough with the trading for quarterbacks unless it's Watson or Russell Wilson. I just don't think that's gonna happen. I really don't. If you're gonna that, I'm good with that. That's my point. I'm good if they do that. I don't think it's gonna happen. But again, Mariota. Solid option for them. I think you can fit their scheme, their system. It's just enough trading, for guys that are just maybes, just guys that are just not going to, for sure not going to get you as far as you want to go. Sure, they can be good. It's just enough with the trading there. So, we'll see what they do. Allen Robinson is definitely an interesting thing to watch. Again, to kind of touch on that a little more. The franchise tag would be over $18 million. I believe $18.8 million. I'd be all for trading him if they, it's probably going to be under what his actual talent value is because he's on the franchise tag. We got to trade for him. We know there's some tension between. So the other teams are getting leverage, and they got to extend him as well. So I'd be okay if, say I'm in the Bears organization. We got a third round out of it. Probably want a little more, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if you got offered more than that, a second round. I'd take that. I'm not going to pay him long term $18+ million. If it's we're got around. It's going to be more than that. They'll say $15-16 million per year. Then I'd be okay with it. I would trust myself drafting these receivers. Really loaded class. These guys are taking over these young receivers, and it's just a lot. It's a lot cheaper. So we'll see what they do with that. It's definitely something to watch there. Can't wait to see what they do. We're pretty much done with these offseason rebuild videos. So pretty much all of them on the channel, or they all will be very soon. Plenty of other NFL offseason content on the channel as well. Check out our Twitter for more content. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.